Welcome to the Worthy Woman podcast with Aston Simmonds. And today I have a beautiful, powerful guest. Oh my God, you are going to get like your mind blown and probably your heart cracked open as well. I'm super excited. I have got the beautiful Bek Antonucci. I'm really proud of myself. I felt like I said that amazingly well. So I'm just going to celebrate myself. She is an incredible emotional empowerment coach for women, and she really helps women break free from shame, unworthiness, and really activate their voice and their self-expression, which I absolutely love. And I'm a big advocate for women to just find their voice. So I just had to have Bek on. We were just having a chat before we went live. There is so much we could talk about. We're definitely going to cover some shame. We're going to talk about unworthiness and how to break through it, and wherever we want to flow. But you're going to want to stick around for this chat. Before we dive in, I'm just going to hand it over to the beautiful Bek, because like I was saying to her, she's all of that and she's so much more. So I'm going to hand you over to Bek, and she can give us a little bit of an intro into who she is, and you can get a feel for this amazing woman.
Oh my God, so good. And just how was your pronunciation, by the way?
I'm really proud. Really proud. I was like, that was amazing.
I'm so happy to be here. My name is Bek Antonucci, and I support women to, just like you said, break through unworthiness, break free from shame. What excites me the most is to see women be able to cultivate the internal worthiness to then live from courage, to do and say the things that they were once afraid to say, that they can express their most authentic self. And in that continual practice of being the most courageous expression of them, that they then begin to embody confidence. That's what really lights me up and lights me on fire. The self-expressed woman, regardless of what her unique expression looks like, because obviously we're so different. So your self-expression is going to be so different to mine. But seeing the woman kind of break free from the cage that she put herself in, that maybe we think our ex-husband put us in, or our mum put us in, or a high school teacher put us in, or our ex-boyfriend, or society, right? Ultimately, it's ourselves and the thoughts that we create, the stories that we create, the meaning we made about those people and those past events. When we break free from that cage and then can like unleash the truest expression of us, that's what really turns me on.
Oh, literally goosebumps already. I hope you guys are feeling this, because this is huge. And I have this conversation with women all the time, and I'm going to put my hand up. And a few years ago, I knew that I was caging myself, but that realization that I put myself in the cage was really frustrating. And I hear this from women all the time. They're like, why do I have to be the one that works on my relationship? Or why do I have to work on myself? And I'm like, because we put ourselves in the cage. And I know it's a hard pill to swallow, and I'm sure you've experienced this with women as well. Like, it is just so easy to blame the external circumstances, like you said, the teacher, the work, the labels, or for me, like becoming a mum. I realized that was a cage I put myself into, that I had to learn to open the door, because there was no door. I had literally created it. So I'd really actually like to open with that, like talking about breaking free from this cage. And like you said, that we actually put ourselves in this.
And I love what you said, like even the question, a woman reflecting back to you, like, why does it have to be me? I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah, up to you.
Anything. No one's like, you get to sit with, do I want to, do I desire to? And the purpose of what is guaranteed is that you're continually going to get the same repeat scenario.
Yes.
And if you're okay with that, great. Don't do anything. Don't do the work. Don't work on your relationship. Don't work on whatever thoughts put you in the cage, and stay doing exactly the same thing that you have always been doing. You'll continue to get what you've always got. Yes. But if you've got a complaint, essentially your complaint is your mission, and it's easy to project and deflect and think that Aston's responsible for Bek, or Jake, my partner, is responsible for me, or my mum or my dad or my sister or whoever else I would love to point the finger at. But ultimately, my complaint is my mission. And from a place of total responsibility and accountability, then I can really reclaim my personal power back, and no one else can do that for me.
Yes, just want to highlight, hold on to that. That's powerful. Don't see the complaint as a mission. Like, so many women see it as a burden, a weight, like, even a responsibility. I see it like you, like it's empowering. That, okay, I don't like this situation. Okay, if I take responsibility, I get to change it. But I actually really love seeing that complaint is a mission or a journey. Like, find the word that is so much better than complaint that helps you go, actually, I want to lean into this and I want to see what's on the other side. I just really want to highlight that because that's a really powerful way of looking at it, because there's going to be complaints, like always, with everything, relationships, work, everything.
Even my mentor said something yesterday, and I'm going to butcher it, but it was something along the lines of, if nothing else in this scenario situation was to change, who do I have to be? What parts of me get to be called forward to create my own internal peace, satisfaction, and happiness here?
Yes. Yes.
Meaning maybe your partner never changes. Maybe he never does the work. Maybe he never learns about conflict resolution or nonviolent communication or how to be a more supportive partner. Who do I get to be in that experience?
Yes, yes, because we get what we are, don't we? That's the thing I hold on to. Like, I don't just get what I want. I don't get to just point the finger and say, I want this, I want you to do that. I have to be that, be the change I want to see. And not for the other person. Like, I loved how you said that. Every change I've ever made, it's been for me first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how I want to feel. Like you said, I want to feel peaceful in that relationship. So I have control over that. How can I be that peace or that love or whatever it is? So you're doing it for yourself.
And
so
ultimately,
amazing.
If everyone else around us changed, but we didn't change, would it really be the fulfilling experience that we think that it would? Like, how would we be different? Just our external circumstances would be different. And maybe momentarily we would be happy with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that would create the long-term fulfillment, internal pride, self-belief, just like self-honor that we as women desire to have.
Yeah. I mean, I really hold on to that. Through every challenge is how I become. So I don't get to where I want to go without going through the challenges to become the woman who steps into that. And I think that's exactly what you've said. And I think it's similar to the whole, like, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when I have the relationship, or I'll be happy when I get married, or I'll be happy when I have kids. And then they get there and they're like, oh, this is not what I thought it would be, because that is external. So it's like what you said. I feel the same. If everything else changed on the outside, but I didn't change, I think I would still have the same complaints, which pretty much says I needed to start with me first. And I feel like really that takes less energy, starting with me instead of like trying to mold everybody else,
I mean, it's probably a never-ending mission to try and mold all the others around us.
Yeah.
And for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I fully agree. Uncaging yourself is definitely our responsibility. And I think that's really what we're here to do. That's the real work, to remember everything we forgot when we got here. So, it's never ending. Yes. But there's gifts along the way. You grow, you become like it. I just think it's so worth it. It's the real work.
And creating an awareness around what is even the purpose of the cage that you're in.
Yes.
I would assume that there's a part of it, like a huge part that makes this cage around you a massive protector. And it thinks that it's actually here to help you. Yeah. And maybe deflecting at your husband or whoever it is that we're projecting at or blaming. Maybe that's a huge avoidance of my own vulnerability. Like, who do I get to be in this scenario to call forward the experience that I desire if he was to never change? Maybe it's a more vulnerable expression of me. Yes. And maybe vulnerability feels really scary.
Yes.
Or maybe it's a woman who feels really embodied in her desires and willing to communicate and express them. Maybe it's a woman who sets boundaries. Maybe it's a woman who isn't afraid of confrontation and says no when she really means no. But maybe all these parts of you haven't been activated, or they weren't taught to you, or your primary caregiver represented someone, like role played for you, a woman who did appease your father. And didn't say no when she meant no, and did put her needs second. So maybe all of these learned behaviors are no longer serving you, and the cage around you is just what you think is here to protect you is actually caging you in. And your partner could say, it's so safe for you to say exactly what you need to say, request exactly what you need, and ask for what you want. But if your body says, no, it's not, you're not going to do the thing until you do the work to create safety in your internal being, to call forward the part of you that's required for the breakthrough that you most desire.
Yes. Oh my God. So much gold in that. And I have been through that experience multiple times. So many evolutions in my relationship. We've been together 19 years. So there has been multiple.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. But the only way to stay together, multiple evolutions of ourselves and the relationship. Like, it is nowhere near the same as it was when we first met. Nowhere, nowhere near. And it couldn't be. We had to keep letting it die. And we continue to let it die and be reborn because, like you said, we had to learn that the triggers in each other and things like that were actually highlighting what we needed to find in ourselves. But I couldn't see it looking at myself in the mirror. I needed my husband to trigger me and show me, oh, this is where I'm avoiding vulnerability or whatever it was. And the challenge he brought was the opportunity to, like you said, step forth into that and really go there. But it is exactly what you said. You must have that safety in your own body. Like, we can't be looking outside expecting everyone else to create that safe space. In an ideal world, that would be perfect. But we're not in an ideal world. Relationships are not perfect. And I'm sure you've experienced this. I've had it with my husband where, I've broken through and I've got to that vulnerable space. And when I get there, I'm like, I thought I needed him to meet me here. I just needed to meet myself here, because regardless of how he met me in it, I felt free. I felt what I needed. And I share this with women all the time when they're scared to do this. And I'm like, I know you think you're doing it for him, but when you actually go into it, you'll realize I don't even need him to meet me in a certain way here. I've got me. And that is like a power that's just, I'm sure you've experienced this. It's a power that I find hard to put into words.
Well, it kind of reminds me of, because you can apply, the thing is, all of these scenarios that we're talking about, you can apply that to so many different things in life. And it also almost reminds me of, and I know that you and I have touched on like the shame piece or the herpes piece that I talk about on the internet. When I decided to draw a line in the sand and claim it and share it powerfully and publicly, the intent, what I thought was, I need everyone else to validate me or make me okay, that for it to be okay. But there was a part of me that was like, no, my reclamation is actually me saying the thing. And no matter what anyone thinks of it, no matter what Aston thinks about it, she could be like, no, I'm not okay with that, Bek. But the point is, I'm doing it. That's my breakthrough. The breakthrough isn't I do it and then Aston's like, oh, that's so awesome, and that makes it great.
Yes.
It's the breakthrough was the fully choosing what I needed to choose regardless of the outcome. High intention to do the thing, low attachment to anyone's response. My husband, my boyfriend, my future partner, my past partners, my mum, my dad, my full ownership of what I required to be the woman that I desired to be. Yes. No one else's thoughts, opinions, approval, validation, lack of, to make it be deemed good nor bad.
Yes. And if you have not, go, like, I'm going to put all links, all of Bek's links, go and check out her podcast is incredible. Like, if you want to learn to be vulnerable, you want to be, you want to pass through that no man's land for so many women, listen to her podcast. It's incredible. But even your Instagram, everything is so inspiring. And I love how, like you say, and you can share about your journey and your story with herpes, but like you said, it's not that. It's shame to anything. Like, it's not, it could have been anything. Like, and for anybody listening, if you've had that experience, if you've gone through, I know for me, it was relationship shame. So I can relate to your story because I had relationship shame. We've been together for so long. We'd done all this stuff. We'd done Tony Robbins. We'd done all these things. I was like, how are we still having challenges in our relationship? I thought I should have it figured out right now. Like so many people have these shoulds. And like your story and so many other women's stories that I've read and like leaned into, it's a different thing on the surface, but it's the same thing underneath. Exactly what you just said.
I love what you're saying. I say the vehicle for me is the herpes virus. The vehicle for you was or once was relationship shame. The vehicle for other women is disordered eating. That was once my journey. The vehicle for some people is their mental health. The vehicle for some people is that their dad abandoned them at age 2 or when they were born, or for some women it's abortion shame. Like, it shows up in a different vehicle. But there's a vehicle for all of us.
There is. No one avoids it.
A person without a vehicle.
Yeah, no one avoids it. We are all on that shame bus. We have all got something that, I like to think of like, no one's got their shit together. We all have some stuff that we need to work through here. Like, let's just stop pretending that no one has shit because
the ones who say they don't have it are lying.
they're lying. Don't trust them. Like, seriously, you'll start working with them thinking, oh, I'm going to have no problems. And then you start working with them and they share their shit and you're like, okay, this is exactly this is exactly what I didn't want to hear, but it's the truth. And it is the truth. Like, I love speaking to women like you and other women like me that are real, that do share the challenges. Yes, you have highs as well. We all do. But there is definitely shit and challenges we need to work through. And that is okay. Doesn't mean we're broken. Doesn't mean we need fixing. We're not doing this because we think there's something wrong with us. And that's everybody listening. That is you too. Like, you're perfectly imperfect, but there are things that we've been gifted with. They don't feel like gifts often, in the beginning. They do feel like, I know mine sometimes felt like punishment, like I was wrong, or I wasn't good enough, or, all those shitty beliefs it brings up. But all of us have them because all of us have some vehicle, like you said, that we need to work through. And it's really not about so much the vehicle, it's the lessons, and that's what we can all relate to. And that's why I can totally relate to your story as well. And I think every woman can, because we have all experienced shame. I mean, especially the feminine. I mean, wow, like so much of our expression has been shamed.
Yeah. And I think it's beautiful, no matter what vehicle it is that's shown up for you. It's kind of like, what are we making that mean about us? I test positive for herpes virus, and you had done Tony Robbins and been together 19 years and done all of these courses, and there was still conflict in your relationship. Some people will be like, and that's normal, just like the herpes virus, and super common. And some people will be like, oh my God, I've done all this stuff and I'm still having conflict in my relationship, and that makes me a failure, and my friends will judge me. And like, what is the and that makes that vehicle in your mind, quote unquote, bad? Or fueled by shame.
Yeah, definitely. And I love what you talked about, exposing it, because I think that is the key. Like, shame loves secrets, loves it. It like feeds off it. Like, it's like sugar to like a virus or a disease. It like literally loves it. And I think as a society, we've normalized like putting all our shit under the rug and being very secretive and, appearing fine. And like, everyone's like, just trying to keep my shit together. And then it's like, under the surface, there's real life challenges going on. And then when you have a real conversation, you're like, oh, it's so nice to meet someone who is going through challenges too. And I often think whenever that happens, like, God, surely we know that if we're going through something, we cannot be the only person of 8 billion people on the planet going through this thing. Surely.
But our wounded egos will definitely make us every time. When I think of the herpes virus and how many just like messages I get all the time, like, there was once a past version of me that was so committed to the belief that I was the only one. I was the one. I looked on the internet. I just wanted to find a beautiful woman who kind of looked like me to make a stand for me, to make me feel okay for my pain. I was like, I must be the only beautiful woman with herpes. This is going to be. And I was like rock solid. Like, I'm the only one person. I'm the only one woman in Perth, only one person in Australia, and quite likely the only one woman in all of Australia and America too. And now I'm like, oh my God, what one person goes through, millions of other people.
100%. That's the human experience. But it is crazy how our egos love to separate and just like, make it life and death, literally. And I think it's just so important to just pull it out. I often, when my ego does that, speak it out. I say it out loud and I'm like, that is absolute ridiculous. If I heard someone else say that, I'd be like, that's total BS. Like, how could that possibly be true? But yeah, it's like you really have to get it out of your head, because those voices in there just create the most crazy stories. Like I always say, we're all incredible storytellers. People don't think they tell stories. I'm like, you tell stories about everything.
And or meaning machine makers.
Oh, 100%. Totally. Yes.
Aston looked at me in a certain way. So that means that
Oh my God. I remember having that exact experience in as a teenager. I had a friend who did that everywhere we went. And I remember like really getting it in that moment that our minds do work so differently. Like, I remember saying to her, really? Like, I didn't even see them look at us. And for her, it was such a real experience. She's broken through it, thank God. But I remember just thinking, God, like, how do our minds do this to us? You know, like what a crippling way to experience life and other women, or just life in general, relationships, whatever, if you're constantly thinking the world's against you, you know? And I know so many people do struggle with that. I know it is a real thing, but this is why I love the work that you do, the work that I get to do, that we can break through that by shining a light on it, by talking about it. We realize, hey, you know, I can break through this. This is not who I am. It's just a belief or just a pattern or just an experience that has happened that I can learn from and I can move on, which is just so powerful and amazing. I'd really love to talk more about worthiness and how you help women activate their voice as well. I mean, I know how you do it. It's incredible. And I feel like you're already doing it, but I just want to give you more space and time to talk more into that.
Yeah, just like we were saying at the beginning, I think women will have this, they'll come to me and they'll say they desire to be confident. And then I'll ask them, like, let's get super clear on what you embodying more confidence will actually look like in your life. Maybe for me, it was like talking about the herpes virus, starting a podcast, having the courage to start a business. For some women that are entrepreneurs, it might be like actually having the courage to ask for money. Like one of my clients, she doesn't like to ask to get paid, like new client that's just started.
Yes.
Brilliant career, but it's obviously hit a wall because she'll only send things via email. She'll never sit down in front of Aston and say, by the way, my fee is fill in the blank. Would you love to make a payment right now?
Yes.
So confidence can look so different for all of us. It might be, dating with confidence. It might be feeling really confident in your mothering abilities. It might be having courageous conversations if you hear there's some conflict going on at school, or a child isn't treating your child the way that you feel is aligned for you, and there gets to be some kind of conversation about that. Getting clear on what a more confident it might be just going to the beach in your bikinis instead of hiding your kids in the backyard every summer swimming in the pool. Getting really clear on what confidence actually looks like for you. And then from there, it's like stripping back why we currently don't feel confident, what's holding us back, doing the work to heal from that potential core wound, and then doing an edging process to take small baby steps to create the space to lean in to being more confident through courageous action taking. You're not going to be confident straight away, but through the repeated act of small baby steps that are courageous in micro amounts, we'll build the somatic body, the energetic body, the nervous system that can become and embody more confidence. You don't just go from so unworthy, no confidence, or rip the Band-Aid and, oh my God, now I'm talking about this crazy wild taboo thing on the internet. It took a time, and I feel like I'm losing my words. It's just building the body that hold the kind of confidence that you say you desire.
I literally, as you were speaking, I was just thinking how we live in this society of people think that, overnight success or just overnight confidence or overnight whatever you think. Nothing is overnight, like zero, nothing. Like there's normally 10 years, 5 years, or there's always work before. And I remember when I got into business, like it was just so refreshing to see women on the inside, like doing what you were doing, having the same challenges. And even when I became a mum, like actually finding my tribe of women that would just speak the truth that my child wasn't perfect. Because my first son, he didn't sleep. He breastfed like every 45 minutes. Felt like I was chained to the couch. He didn't follow the rule book, and I fought it for a long time. But once I surrendered to it, I was like, okay, this is our journey. This is our path. And then I started to meet other women who were like, yeah, my son was like that. My daughter was like that. It was a really challenging journey. And I was like, okay, that made me. I mean, motherhood broke me, but it was the making of me also. And really every challenge I've had has been the same. And
what I loved about what you just said was having other women normalize your experience.
Yes.
Created an opportunity for you to surrender into what was occurring.
Yes. And that's what I think I know is a big part of your mission, huge. And also for me, I'm like, normalizing challenges in relationship, normalizing that you don't feel confident every day. I remember when someone asked me, do I have bad days? I was like, are you kidding me? I'm not a robot. I have 2 kids under 5. I'm a human being. I'm married. I
don't have 2 kids and I still have bad days.
Yeah. Like everything comes with challenges. Like, are you in this real life? Like this real life is not like a smooth, like sailing trip, and it's the same with growth. It's the same with everything. Everyone wants it to be straight line A to Z, and it's not. When you were talking and you were moving your body, I was like, I know that I had to build that capacity to learn in my nervous system how, like, even when I went from 1 to 2 kids, my nervous system had to expand. My heart had to crack open. I remember thinking before I had my daughter, oh my God, my ego was like, can you love a second child as much as your first? And now I'm like, that is ridiculous. But when I shared that with other women, they're like, I thought that too. Like, our egos literally all say the same shit, trying to keep us safe. And, when I had her, it was just, you realize love is endless, it's limitless, it's boundless. Like, it's unrepeatable. It's just like, you cannot just get too much of it or not enough of it. Like, it's just, you can't put it into words. And you could have like 5 kids and every time it would still be the same flood of unconditional love. It's just incredible. But it just was such a good lesson for me that, nothing happens overnight. You have to build that space to be able to have that thing, whatever it is. And confidence is the same. It really is I call it like a capability. Some people might be born with it slightly more than others, but like you said, it takes courage, and that means taking action. You don't just wake up one morning, it's like, oh, I'm confident,
And how do you know as well, like, this is one thing there's a book called The 5 Personality Patterns, and it talks about the developmental stages of learning, which is super interesting, especially if you're a parent, because it's made me think, like, when I'm a parent, how am I going to parent? But even for like the child that isn't naturally as confident as another child, and I'm sure that does absolutely come into play, there's natural talent, but also there's like something could happen and then a behavior could occur, and then a parent might start saying to the child, you're shy. You're shy. It could have just been one small incident. And through a little girl, a little boy repeatedly hearing from their primary caregiver, you're shy, you're shy, you're shy, you're shy. I'm curious, is the child actually just naturally shy? Or did something occur, whether it was behind closed doors, playing with toys with their big brother or sister, and they changed their behavioral pattern, and then the parent started to repeat these words and they start to believe, as a little girl, maybe I am shy. And that becomes a part of their belief system about who they are. Now, I'm wondering, is that absolutely true or not?
I fully believe that we do speak over each other and ourselves, and then we become. And I think we need to be, that's actually was the hardest part of parenting for me. And I'm sure it will be for you, because you have all this knowledge.
I'm an asshole. I reckon my kids are going to be ultimate little ones.
And actually, that's really scary, because you do get yourself reflected back to you, which is really hard.
Aston, lie to me.
I know, sorry. I'm really sorry. I really find it hard to lie to women when they're even talking about having kids. I have to say to them now, it is amazing, but it is the hardest journey you will ever take in your life. I've done a lot of spiritual journeying. I've done a lot of personal development. Nothing comes close to having children. Nothing. It literally is like your personalized, one-to-one, like unique spiritual growth journey. It's like it was already designed for you with all of your challenges, all of your triggers, and they're packed in this cute little package and they're right in front of your face, and there is nothing you can do about it. And you really realize what it's like to receive yourself, which was what I realized. And it was excruciatingly hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but it was also so beautiful, because I grew, like, my kids teach me as much as I teach them, like 100%. And I think having that beginner's mindset with your kids, I know it's really helped me, literally saved me, because then I'm open to be flexible, to try different ways. I'm all for like reading the books and doing all that. I did do that, but honestly, nothing can prepare you for motherhood or parenthood or pregnancy or birth. Nothing. Like, prepare and then let go of your preparation, I think, is the advice I give to women when they say they're pregnant or having kids. I love birth and I would do it again. It was so addictive. Like, if you love breaking through,
you love birth.
Loved birth. Literally loved it.
God. I would think have the first person I've ever heard say that.
Really? I think someone else has said that to me. I can't be the only person.
I've loved pregnancy. They love pregnancy. I've obviously heard lots of women who say they hated being pregnant.
Yes.
And some women were like, it was fine. I wouldn't be excited to do it again, but it wasn't bad. But I've never heard a woman say, I loved birth.
Literally loved birth. And they weren't perfect, you know, so like I use me as inspiration, but
I'm coming to you when I have babies.
Come to me. Like literally, I actually am going to do a podcast on my births because I shared it with a client and it was her second birth and it really moved her and she had an incredible birth. So I was like, okay, I just need to share this with more women. So it empowers them to be like, I can love birth. I can love birth. And it's kind of exactly what we're talking about. It's your language is so powerful. Like if you tell your brain you love birth, you will love it really no matter what happens. If you tell yourself you love talking to other women, then you will start to love talking and being vulnerable with other women. Like, whereas we tend to do the opposite, and it does start in childhood. And this was, I think, the hardest part of becoming a parent is realizing the responsibility I had in creating this little person. And actually what I try to do is intervene as little as possible because I want them to hold on to their authentic self. You know, I need to keep them safe, obviously, but my number one goal, I've spent my whole life reconnecting to my authentic self. So I'm like, please just hold on to your authentic self as much as possible. And I will do my part to stand back as much as possible and just let you hold on to it. And I think we would have all loved that gift, you know, from a young age that, you know, who you are is okay. Who you are actually is perfect. And hold on to that because that will carry you more than anything really I can teach them. You know,
I love that. And so beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And just like backtracking to what you said prior to that is like, we are linguistic beings.
Yes.
Social, historical, linguistic. And so our words can really create our world. And I know we're talking about children right now. It was like, I was with a friend the other day. I have a big trigger around, I hate hearing people speak ineffectively about money because that was my upbringing from my dad. There's not enough. There's not enough. We don't have enough. There's not enough money for that. And so I grew up as like a young little girl thinking I need to make money. I need to make sure my family is safe. Like this was something entrenched for me from like age 5. Yes. I was embarrassed that we didn't have a big house. I used to make up lies as a child. And I was determined, like if I make enough money, I can make sure everyone's happy. And so this was a part of my entrepreneurial path of taking on this responsibility of like, I need to look after everyone. And so my dad's thoughts and words about money, I've had to set really big boundaries with him because I don't love hearing it. And the other day I was with a friend and he was with his little girl and she asked for something and he goes, no, daddy doesn't have any money. Do you want daddy to go broke? And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Not my place to jump in and be like, don't talk to your kid that way. But I was like, ooh.
Yes.
Don't be talking to your children about money in that way.
No. And this is how it starts. Like I know so many women listening to this can relate because then later in life, because you and I know all of these beliefs get, you know, hidden in your subconscious, that beautiful treasure chest that stores everything before the age of 7. And then you grow up as an adult and you're doing things. And it's not till you bring awareness to it that you're like, I'm literally thinking how I thought when I was a child, or I'm literally being my dad or my mum, or, you know, and I think that's why this work is so important to, do that work and realize that's not mine.
So I did everything in my power to not be my dad, only to end up like my dad.
Yes.
I was like, I don't want to be like dad. I don't want to ever worry about money. I got my first job when I was 15 and 9 months because that was what was legal in Australia. And dad said, give me half and I'll save it for you. And I was like, no, I'm not giving you anything. You're not touching my money. By 25, I had spent it all. At 21, I was a personal trainer earning $100 an hour. And I would open my purse to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 of cash a week. Now, that is a lot of money now.
Yes.
But at 21, that was like, I thought I was killing it. And I didn't know about money. I just knew that I had it and I would spend it all.
Yes.
By age 31, when the pandemic hit, I was in $120,000 of debt.
Oh, yeah. These beliefs. Oh my God.
I had great careers. I had worked really hard. I had worked 3 jobs, but I was like, I will never be like my dad and fixate and worry about money and hold it.
Yes.
So then I ended up with none of it.
Yes. And what you're trying to avoid, you create, because whatever you put attention on grows. And this is what I always we all need to bring attention to. And I still have to do this because our mind wants to look for what we don't want. And then we focus on, oh, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. But the universe doesn't hear that, does it? It doesn't speak English. It speaks energy. So it just goes, oh, you want more of that. And then you get more of that. And it's not until you do the belief work. And because I've had several patterns like that play out. And so is my husband. Oh my God. And you feel so stupid afterwards. But honestly, we've all been there. Like, your story is not unique at all. I know so many women have similar money stories, and it's like they have it and they have it and then they don't. Like, it's there, then it's gone. It's there, then it's gone. And it does trace back to like generational, like it's ancestral. And that's why I feel like we do have a responsibility, especially if you have children, but anybody, we have a responsibility to break those chains and look at it, bring it out in the light and be like you did, this is not mine. Like, I just need to look at this belief and realize it is just a belief, and I can create a new one. And yes, it doesn't happen overnight, obviously, like nothing, but it will happen if you start like respecting money. What you appreciates, but it is a new conversation. We just bought for both of our kids. They're only 3 and 5. We've got the Barefoot Investor book. So me and Adam have done that, and we were talking to the kids about it. And then my parents are so good at doing this. They bought them the kids version and wrapped it in gold. Like gold wrapping paper. And so we've been reading that to them at night. They're 3 and 5. But already my son's like, what can I do to make some dollar bucks? He calls them, because I'm bluey. They call them dollar bucks. What can I do to make some dollar bucks? And, wants to get his jars going. And it's so important to have a positive relationship to money. Like, it's just energy, and we are all worthy of it. It doesn't make you good or bad. And to learn the lessons from our parents and just people around us,
and set ourselves up for success. Like,
yes,
I think that's a part of what I love about my journey is I feel like I've hit rock bottom and then been able to create, like, my business has created massive success in 3 years, but at 31, I'd worked for 10 years and felt like I'd gone on an uphill battle just to have nothing but experience to show for it. And it's a test, like, no matter where you're at right now, whether you're 120 in debt, 500 in debt, in some kind of positive, wherever you're at, if you're unsatisfied with it, dissatisfied, there is a way through. There is breakthrough possible.
Yes.
And I think the more that you do this work, the more layers that will even be revealed. Like, even my partner has built a second business this past year, went through a lawsuit. And so his financial situation is very different to when we first met. And I found that triggering to witness it. And I was like, what is this? Why am I so annoyed to hear it, and not a supportive partner? And I thought about it, and I did a inner child session, and there was a part of my little girl that was like, I worked so hard this past 3 years to get myself back on track, to get my business successful, to get rid of that debt, to make sure that I can look after my family. And there was a little girl inside of me that was like, and now I've got another person to look after. And there was like this little, like 6-7-year-old that just thought, like, I have to work to make sure everyone's okay. And now I've got another person. And just like the layers just go so deep.
And it never stops. Like, I still connect with my little girl. Like, for ages, I had like pictures of different ages in my purse of me, so that I'm like, which one is it today that needs to be held, and healed. And I know with women I work with that it's a common thread that at different stages, these things happen, and our needs aren't met, or they're not validated. And we just need to take the time to validate it. Like, it's okay. Just validate where you are, meet yourself where you are, so that you can move forward, and you will break through. You will get through it, like we all do, but just don't avoid it. That's like the number one thing. Like, it will not go away. It'll follow you forever and life loves you that much that it will give you all the opportunities to look at it, won't it?
Even there's one more story that's just coming up for me. I remember one of my girlfriends, and her ex-partner was Italian, very similar to my dad. And she came to me and she was crying. And I was like, what's going on? And her oldest daughter had been bought these beautiful new sports shoes. And Italians can I've got an Italian father, her father's Italian, can kind of be like, leave the best for good and don't like wear your good shoes in the dirt. And she was crying. She's like, oh my God, my ex-husband said to her, no, you got your good shoes dirty. They're only for good. And she came home really upset that she's not allowed to wear her shoes in the playground. And like, she was like, I just don't want the girls to go through what you and I went through growing up with fathers like that, like our
Yes.
language, not giving children permission to play or permission to
Yes.
use their things, or having to keep everything for good. Like, yes, respect our belongings, but that scarcity is so deep and so
Yes.
ingrained that if the trigger is here and it's so intensified, again, our complaint, our mission.
Our mission,
Not my
100%.
dad's responsibility, not her ex-husband's responsibility, our responsibility.
Yeah. And I get that it's frustrating. I do totally get it. Like, I've been there too. Like, it'd be so much easier if they didn't do that or didn't say that. And it's not your fault. That's what I like to say. It's not your fault, whatever happened, but it is your responsibility to deal with your healing so you can move forward. You know, free yourself.
The final thing I'll say on that is I was having some challenges with Jake, and my mentor kept reflecting back to me. His name's Preston Smiles. He said, Beck, the person who is most resourced is the most responsible, which means sometimes Jake is more resourced than you, and that makes him the responsible one. And when you're more resourced, you're the responsible one.
Yes.
So that kind of is I'm just like, oh, usually not with Jake. He's usually the more resourced one. But in all other areas of my life, it's usually me. And when I'm like, I don't want to be the person that does this. I'm like, well,
yes.
I am the one that's got the resources right now. So it is my responsibility.
Yes, 100%. And I've been that so many times, and I can agree. And you get over that and you realize it's you hold the power. You know, so you just do it, and it's like you get there faster because you hold the power. I'm often the one the same that can generate the energy. I'm a generator, and so I literally generate the energy. So you know, that's just who I am, and I have to just trust it and go with it. Oh my God, I've absolutely loved this chat. I could literally speak to you forever. I feel like we've covered so much. I really, really do love Bek's work. If any of this has landed, go and check out her page. I'll also put a link to your podcast because I think they'll get so much from it. So I'll make sure I do that as well. And just thank you so much for your time, your energy. I've loved this chat so much. You're so incredibly powerful and beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the work that you do in the world. And I have loved it too. I'm like, is this my new best friend?
Yes.
She just said that God, universe doesn't speak English, speaks energy. I'm like, hello, friend.
Yes. Oh, I love those deep souls, and I'm calling in more of them this year. I'm like, where's all my star seeds? Where are my deep souls? I'm not surprised you've worked with Preston because I've done a few of his containers, love his work, and really deeply resonate with it. And you know, when you just get that soul connection, like, and you just feel that like, oh, I really enjoy talking to this person. I'm calling in more of that this year. So super glad that you felt that energy, because honestly, I felt the same. It's reciprocal. So beautiful. All right. Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.